H2 register. OTS Media Station. Basketball is on the air.
And a pleasant good evening and welcome to Buffalo Wild Wings in Rock Hill. A very, very good week for Winthrop Basketball, a 4-0 week. The men's team taking care of Liberty on the road and Campbell at home. The women sweeping a pair of home games against Liberty 63-58 and Presbyterian 54-51. Both teams are a couple games over 500 in Big South Conference play, and down the stretch we come as the season moves along and gets into February, and it's almost winning time as we're joined by Mike Pacheco and women's coach Kevin Cook. Hope you're able to join us every week here at Buffalo Wild Wings. If you're in the area, stop on by. Our buddy Diego will take care of you. Wing Tuesdays, Boneless Thursdays, happy hour 4 until 8, $3 domestics, $4 and $5 craft and imports here at Buffalo Wild Wings. Coach, the huge win over Liberty during the week, and everyone celebrated that and patted you on the back. Everyone had to feel really good about themselves. But then you're able to follow it up with a win on Saturday. How tough is it to get that big win and then bring everyone right back down to the issue at hand, which is the next game?
Well, it's not easy, and we faced that a little bit earlier in the season after the big Auburn win, and we had to bounce back quick, fast, and in a hurry, and we were able to accomplish that feat twice. But, Dave, I got a question for you, and it has been a great week. When you made the call there at the conference tournament and Andre made the long three-pointer, how many times did you say good?
A bunch.
Well, I counted 5 times. Yeah, good.
You got to sell it, Coach.
Apparently, it was good.
It was
good.
After that win over Liberty, I would have been printing T-shirts with the final score and hawking them on the street.
But you made a good point that leading up to that game, and I think some years in the past, the players have seen Liberty on the front and thought maybe they were playing Liberty in the WNBA. Mm-hmm. And you kept telling this team, reinforcing this team, look, you've already beaten this team in a big stage. Play the players and not the history.
That's right. Play the current team, and you never know what's going to stick with your team. And apparently, that made an impact, and so you never stop searching on what's going to be the key. It's like we were saying, what a difference a week makes. We were lamenting last week as mired, kind of in a 3-game slump and not looking bright, with the undefeated league leaders, just a week ago coming into our Coliseum. And, that's how quickly in this game, you can turn things around. And as you said, Serpico coming down the stretch.
Yeah, I mean, this is the time of year that makes the biggest difference, and you get ready for the conference tournament. You try to position yourselves. You get back-to-back wins, but now you have a stretch with 3 of the next 4 on the road. How do you go from recognizing, hey, we had a big win, and we backed up that big win with there's still a lot of work to be done?
Well, it's like this. I told the team after the game with Presbyterian that game earned them a day off. So we had to get a lot done today. And so when I entered the film room, the first thing I said was, great week last week, now we got to do it again. And it came back to me that they were asking a lot of questions to the staff, like how big a hole have we dug ourselves, what can happen, if this happens, that happens. And that's good. That shows they're locked in, they're engaged, and they studied the film from the Presbyterian game very closely, and so that's encouraging. I mean, I haven't seen any drop off. I've seen us just wanting to get better and our work habits getting better, and for this time of year, that's a great sign.
We've seen a couple of times where the team has banded together and played really well, and Bobby Stevens and I even commented on this on the broadcast on Saturday, that maybe this team has turned the corner in the sense that we're starting to see complementary play out of Aaliyah Kilpatrick, Shaquila Nunn, and Erica Williams. Not to say that hasn't been there at times. It's been kind of up and down. One has a great game, maybe 2 have a great game, but now we're starting the 3 of them start to work in concert.
Absolutely, and congrats go out to Shaquila Nunn for Big South Conference Player of the Week, but I think it could have been divided 3 ways with the kind of week that Erica had and the kind of week that Aaliyah had. All 3 were very, very deserving. And, we need those 3 each and every game to be hitting on all cylinders. And what we also need is the play that we had Saturday from Zoe Vernon. Zoe came in and stuck the 3 ball with confidence, and it's the most confident that she shot the ball. I mean, she's had several games where, she's hit 3s. She nailed 2 3s, and the other one right in front of our bench I thought was dead money good, would have given her 3rd 3. But she's just around the corner from having a breakout game, and once she has a breakout game, Katie, bar the door, because there's more to be coming.
When you look at the first half of the season, we've gone 10 games in, 10 conference games remaining. If you put you on the spot just a little bit, because you probably could make 3 or 4 different selections here, but if you were to name a player of the year right now, you have 2 candidates right now that it could be a between Erica Williams and Shaquila Nunn. They're both at the top of the Big South rankings.
Well, that doesn't put me on the spot because we're just going after the team of the year. And I would say that both are very, very deserving of first team all Big South. And I hope that they both land there, as I hope Aaliyah gets some recognition, perhaps as Defensive Player of the Year, because she's a lockdown defender. But, our team has kind of taken on the attitude of DeQuisha McClanahan. They don't really care anymore about individual awards. I told them that none of them, gets a trophy or a crown. That's just a myth, a scoring crown. Nobody gets to be queen, the name only. I mean, I don't even know if they get a certificate, from the conference. I'm not sure. But I do know this, for getting the NCAA tournament, you get a heck of a nice ring.
One of the great stories, you've mentioned this a few times. I don't know if everybody is quite aware of this, but after the first 2 times DeQuisha McClanahan won Player of the Year, those trophies were in your office. She didn't go get them.
Oh, they're still sitting there. Now, her mother came in and ransacked the 3rd, so she's got that probably in the living room, but the other 2 are on proud display.
So you can name your own MVPs and give away those trophies.
Yeah, because, the Big South doesn't put any
name
markers.
on it?
Yeah, there's no marker, so they could be good. Shaquila Nunn's Freshman of the Year trophy sits in there also, so we're getting quite a collection.
How do you have any room in your office for anything else?
It's getting to be a problem.
A good problem. No doubt about it. Not to underestimate or under talk about how important a week this was, because Liberty obviously at the time was in first place, and Ronnie Fisher is a very good coach. Presbyterian came in. They led most of the way in the game on Saturday, and kind of like your team did on Tuesday, worked from behind, didn't let that lead get too out of hand, and then at the appropriate time, were able to mount a big comeback.
Well, I have all the respect in the world for Coach Ronnie Fisher, and like I told him at our last Big South Conference meeting in front of everybody, I hope he took it as a compliment. I said, Ronnie can take hisns and beat urines and take urines and beat hisns. And I don't know if half of the coaches understood what I was trying to say, but I told them all I meant it as an extreme compliment. And, we're happy. I'm personally happy to be 5-0 in games going against him, because every time out that we play them, it's a huge challenge. He gets a lot out of his team, and we're just thrilled with the back-to-back wins. But has been the theme of the first 15 minutes of the show. We get on the bus tomorrow, we travel 4 hours, we get off, and we've got to be mentally tough and get after it again.
What are those coaches' meetings like in terms of those are the people you're fighting against, but you're supposed to act cordial? Like, does everyone kind of talk about the same amount, or is there someone more vocal, or are there people you sit with all the time? What does that look like?
It's about the same as when you go recruiting. There's the handshakes and the smiles and the pats on the back, and then you're saying to each other, well, come tip off, we're going to be trying to beat each other's brains out. And, we're just trying to accomplish and move the Big South forward and move our women's game forward. And so everybody comes together for the common cause. We talk about a lot of things, the game protocol and pregame protocol and game schedule.
Is there a lot of agreement, or is there disagreement?
Depends on the topic. It depends on the topic, but that'll vary. One thing we all agree upon is that we've got to get more fannies in the seats at our women's games, and so that's constantly something that we talk about. And something we've been wanting to add here to our schedule is a junior high or kids game, where all the elementary schools come. Liberty has it, Campbell has it, Gardner-Webb has it, and they draw over 4,000 for those games. So we need to add one of those to the schedule.
Is there any effort, or I know that we've talked about this a little bit off the air over the years, but it seems like there was such a great atmosphere on Saturday. Is there an emphasis by the women's coaches to maybe try and do more doubleheaders to maybe help boost attendance that way?
Personally, I like a weekend doubleheader. And it's just tough to do during the week, during the season with a school night for the kiddos. And
right. Plus, it'd be harder if you do a day trip. You can leave a little bit later if you're playing at 7 o'clock, as opposed to if you have to be there at, say, 2.
Absolutely. And so it works well on the weekend. I do wish that would happen, but if you talk to the men's side, I think they would vehemently oppose. So that's the way it goes. One
last thing with recruiting before we move along here. Something I saw today on social media. It was a graph, Urban Meyer's recruits, and it had, I think, of 42 recruits, all but like 5 played a different sport. Only 5 of his in one recruiting class were just football-only recruits. When you
specialization.
But when you look at kids, do you try and find, or do you ask about, do you place an importance on a women's basketball player that maybe also plays volleyball or track and field or a couple of other sports, or is basketball a little bit different?
Yeah, basketball is a little bit different. We try to place an emphasis on whether they can make the biscuit go in the basket. And they can do that in high school. That usually translates into the university. If you're not a good scorer in high school, chances are you're not going to be a great scorer in college. The great exception to that rule is Shaquilla Nunn. You're talking about somebody who started the game playing at, just outside their freshman year. And she was a dual sport performer until I think her junior year in high school. But she played behind Elam Ebiam, who's now the starting center on the #1 team in America over at South Carolina. And she got mop-up time. And by mop-up time, I'm talking 4 and 5 minutes a game until her senior year. And so God bless Coach. That's one of the reasons we were able to get her here at Winthrop.
One thing about PC before we take our first break here at Buffalo Wild Wings here on the Winthrop Coaches Show, when you look at defensively your effort, probably one of the best defensive games of the year. Would you agree with that?
The past 2 games this week were great defensive efforts. I couldn't vote one over the other. They were both outstanding defensive efforts. In both games we played man-to-man, and so we may have found the magic elixir.
And it also, we saw at times this year, the three-pointer has been an issue, whether it's the number of threes or the timely threes. In the last 2 games, you've held your opponents to 5 threes in each game. How important was that?
Oh, it's huge. And I'm thinking the Presbyterian game, we gave up 3 or 4 in the first half and only 1 in the second.
That's right.
And I want to credit Samaya Wright. Samaya Wright didn't really impact the scorebook, with her shooting, but she had a great impact with her defense. I mean, she took on the Liberty game Carly Buer, who's just a genuine firecracker.
Yeah, she held her like 5 points or 3. It was really low.
1 3-pointer is 1 of 15. And then she came right back at Presbyterian and faced the number 1 3-point field goal percentage shooter in our conference, and we held her to 4 points. So kudos to Samaya Wright. We haven't talked a lot about her, but that senior came through for us on a different end of the court.
And when you look at Taylor Calvert and Samaya Wright in league play, they have surpassed the win total by DeQuisha McClanahan and Tiffany Charles last year. In league play, they still have a couple more overall as a senior class in wins, but 47 is the amount of wins that they have in conference play, and 46 was the mark that DeQuisha and Tiffany Charles had. So It's good to see continued growth in the program.
Well, that's stats I didn't know about, but I'm sure they'll be happy to hear about. So I'll pass that along.
All right.
To DeQuisha also.
All right. We plan to come here on the Coaches Show, the Winthrop Coaches Show here at Buffalo Wild Wings. We'll hope you stay along here with us. Coach Cook alongside for another segment. Pat Kelsey joins us at the bottom of the hour. Alongside Dave Freeman, I am Mike Pacheco, and you're listening to the Winthrop Coaches Show here from Buffalo Wild Wings on 104.1 The Bridge, the Winthrop Sports Network.
win out there that outweighs another win. They're all equally as important. A win against Presbyterian or against Charleston Southern, if we're so fortunate to get those, are worth the same amount as a win over a Liberty or whoever's leading the conference at the time. And so we've got to take each one anew, and we respect everybody. We don't want to fear anybody, but we certainly want to go into the game with the utmost respect, which I think we have done.
How much different would you say your team is now than when you played them earlier in the season?
Wow, that's a great question. All we had to do was look at about 8 or 9 clips today in film session, and you could see the difference, especially on the defensive end with our tenacity, in our stances. It has finally clicked in that defense takes effort, guys, you know, and we've given that effort now. A lot of that credit goes to 2 players who've been out with injury. You know, Leah Kilpatrick had been out with injury, and Taylor Calvert has been a great defender since she stepped on campus. So, you know, that kind of effort rubs off on your teammates. But now we have, you know, our 2 offensive leaders really buying into the defensive end. And I'll tell you, each and every day, Shaquila Nunn looks quicker and quicker on her feet. It's amazing how frisky she looks out there, and that has really aided her and helped her to stay out of foul trouble. We haven't mentioned 9 blocks against Liberty.
Yeah, tied a season high.
Wow.
You mentioned the buy-in to playing defense and the effort it takes. Has that corresponded with going to more man defense?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And we went to man defense basically because I was tired of seeing 3-pointers being bombed on us, and somewhat out of desperation, but also we've spent more time on it. Another key to to the win on Saturday, another key to the win was offensive rebounding.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, I mentioned that in film today, where clip after clip, we were able to retrieve an errant shot and put it in or get fouled. And I said, guys, you know, I want you to know how much offensive rebound helps us win this game. And they said, well, we worked on it this week. I said, guys, if I'd known that simple little drill that we did my freshman year with Alex Clark worked that well, I'd have been doing it all season long.
That actually brings up an interesting question. When it comes to drills and practice plans, how much is it repetitive, the same thing over and over again? And how many times do you go back to the drawing board and find something from your past?
From time to time, especially this time of year when you want to keep things fresh. I told the staff when we came back after break, I said, I'm talking mostly to myself, but let's keep practice exciting and new. Let's not make practice boring, something that the players dread. So we threw in a couple new defensive rebound drills. We threw in a couple new offensive rebound drills. And what you have, or what most coaches have, is like with transition defense, each aspect of the game, you have maybe 12, 14, 15 different drills to accomplish, you know, the transition defense. And then you just go on that day and pick a different one out, and that keeps things lively and fresh. You know, you go to your standbys. Shell drill is something we're going to do every day for the rest of the year until the cows come home.
4-on-4?
Absolutely.
Why do you run a drill 4-on-4 when the game itself is played 5-on-5?
Well, that's a great question, but basically it's so you can get everything in, which is give and go cuts, back screens. We even mix ball screens into it. And we do something a little bit different. We do a 3/4 court shell drill that we picked up from Billy Clyde Gillespie, who used that. And
the currently unemployed Billy Clyde Gillespie?
Great basketball mind. You never know what catches you sometimes.
When you look at this team's record over the last couple of years, only I think twice we've seen a losing streak of 3 games in 3 years. That's pretty solid. But the point I'm trying to get at is when you challenge this team, they always seem to respond. What does that say about them? And what does it say about maybe their makeup and their desire to get better and improve?
Well, I wish we didn't have to challenge them this time around, but it speaks of their great character, and I'm really, really proud of them. And I think now what we've done is set ourselves up for a chance. And all you want is a chance to get a good seed. We came out of the tournament last year as the number 3 seed and ended up winning it. We've got a chance at that 3 seed again, maybe to get as high as the 2 seed if everything falls right and breaks right. That's still a possibility. It would be tough, to still tie for first, but it's not out of the question. Anything can happen. I mean, Tracy McGrady scored 13 points in 39 seconds, so anything can happen.
Clay Thompson scored 37 and a quarter.
Yeah, after Timothy Mozgov's first basket yesterday in the fourth quarter, I thought he's only 35 behind the record. But I'm looking out into the crowd, and I'm seeing some young men and Coach Kelsey's daughter and Big Bad John, and I love to see the young people out here getting ready to listen to Coach Kelsey, and I'm just happy to be the warm-up pitcher for him and getting him ready to come out and talk to him. But I'd love to see families come out here. This is what the show is all about, not just for our loyal fans, but for the young people of Rock Hill. We are Rock Hill's team, both the men and the women, and I'm looking forward to seeing more young men and young ladies out here, because Coach Kelsey has given me the blessing that I can coach his 2 daughters, and that makes me awfully happy.
Well, the good news is if families want to come out and see us, we'll be back here on Thursday, February 5th. We'll be back on Monday the 9th, Monday the 16th. And our final show here at Buffalo Wild Wings will be on Wednesday, February 25th. So we hope everybody will come out. We won't be here next Monday, but we'll be here on Thursday of next week.
Yeah, mark that on your calendars and ask for Diego when you come on out. And the boneless wings are the thing, for the young people.
And on Thursday, they're 65 cents.
65 cents. You can't beat that with a baseball bat. And I get the boneless wings every Thursday, and they said, Coach Cook, that's a hit with the kids. And I said, that I fit right in. I'm just a big kid. I love them.
How many 65-cent wings can you eat?
We're going to find out next Wednesday. We have the wing eating contest, and I'm the only one allowed to eat the boneless wings, and I'm going for it, baby.
All right. Last week your word was let's hear it. Let's hear it for Coach Cook. Go bring it. Timber was the word for last week. What, you got a new word for us this week? What you want to see from your team?
No, I'm going to save that one for the bus trip tomorrow. Timber is awfully hard to
follow up.
That's a hard one to follow up. But I will do one Richard Gere. I got nowhere else to go. I got nowhere else to go. I got nothing.
Officer and a gentleman. There you go. You were thespian at one time? You trying to be an actor as well as a basketball coach?
Yeah, I think at 72, when I stop coaching, I'll get into acting.
All right, sounds good. And we'll talk about Longwood coming up. What do you think the game will come down to? What do you see as being kind of the big thing against Longwood?
Same thing has been the last 2 games, our defense and our rebounding. We're going to find ways to score. And basically tomorrow, though, I told the team it's a mental toughness game. We've got to be tougher to get off that bus, go shoot, and be ready to play. Knowing our team, we will be ready.
All right, well, we'll have the call tomorrow night at 6:30, tip-off at 7 o'clock from Willett Hall in Farmville, Virginia. And if you don't know where that is, just go to the middle of nowhere, take a left, and you'll come right up on campus. All right, join us tomorrow at 6:30 on 104.1 The Bridge here on 104.1 The Bridge. We'll hear from Eagles head coach Pat Kelsey coming up next, men's basketball coach. Good week on both sides for men's and women's basketball. We'll hear from Pat Kelsey coming up next here on the Winthrop Coaches Show from Buffalo Wild Wings on the Winthrop Sports Network.
up, David? What's up, Coach? How are you? Good. How are you?
Always good. Wife's hot. Kids are healthy.
Welcome back to Buffalo Wild Wings. It's our Winthrop Basketball Coaches Show. 48 days until Selection Sunday. We're here at Buffalo Wild Wings off Dave Lyle Boulevard by the Galleria Mall in Rock Hill. Hope you'll join us here next Thursday live from BW3's. Wing Tuesdays, boneless Thursdays, 65-cent wings. Happy hour Monday through Friday, 4 until 8. Great spot to watch a game, drink a beer, and have a good old time. Talk some Winthrop basketball. We're back here next Thursday, February 5th at 6 p.m. Men's basketball teams 10-9 in the year, 5-3 in the Big South, and now back-to-back road games this week at Coastal Carolina Wednesday, at Radford Saturday, and then a string of 4 of 5 at home. Women's team 10-9 overall, 6-4 in the league. They're at Longwood tomorrow, home Saturday for Charleston Southern. Tickets 803-323-2345, 323-2345, or online at winthropeagles.com. We welcome in men's coach Pat Kelsey now, following a victory over Campbell, 71-63. Your team won the Battle of the Boards, undefeated when you do that. But when you went back and looked at the tape and broke down everything that took place in the game, what was the reason you won?
Well, I think the biggest positive coming out of the game is there's been times this year where we let our offense be dictated by we let our defense be dictated by our offense. And early on, we were struggling to score the ball. I think the game started 13-2. Obviously, we were in a deficit, and our guys kept guarding and kept guarding and kept guarding and kept guarding. And like I said, there's been times this year when we don't see the ball going into the basket. It affects us on the defensive end. Campbell presented several challenges that were worrisome with our team. They're a violent driving team, and then obviously they play a complicated style. So in one quick day, a turnaround. I thought our kids picked up the basic concepts that we had to execute on the defensive end. They did it for the majority of 40 minutes.
Offensively, you got to the point where you hit some shots early on. You struggled a little bit, but again, when you get to the line, you win. 20-3 over the last 2 years. When you shoot more free throws than your opponent, you took 30 free throws in the game. Obviously, every game you want to get to the free throw line, but what are you doing more recently actually getting there?
Well, we constantly address that. We constantly emphasize it and stress it that we want to attack the box. I tell you all the time about our shot spectrum, and we want the majority of our shots, the most volume of shots to come from the free throw line, and we want the second most volume, highest volume of shots to come at the rim. And those come from driving the ball, from posting the ball, and from attacking the offensive glass. And the more you attack the rim and get shots at the rim, the more you get to the free throw line. We knew that Campbell was a team that we were going to have to attack. They run a complicated style on the offensive end, but then they run a unique style on the defensive end as well. It's a hybrid man-to-man in which they switch everything. They switch every handoff. They switch every ball screen. If cutters cut through their defense, they sort of pass them along. And you're in one-on-one situations a lot. It's hard to get them outnumbered. It's hard to create 2-on-1s and a pick and roll against them because there are no 2-on-1s. They're always switching, so they have mano-a-mano. And last year we scored in bunches against them, really, really putting our head down and driving the ball, trying to post the ball. And it took us a little while to get that going, but once we did, we were able to manufacture shots at the rim, get to the free throw line, and then that ended up opening up open three-point looks as well, which we made down the stretch.
You can send us questions for Coach Kelsey using hashtag WooCoaches on Twitter, hashtag WUCoaches. We've gotten some questions about Dubio KK and finishing at the rim, but he's also a guy that's getting the free throw line. Is it the fact that he's playing more, kind of the way he plays, that contact comes?
Well, the key with Doobie is for him to play at optimal activity at all times, as silly as that sounds. He has to have the mentality that he's going to get every single rebound, block every single shot, and clean up all the mess around the rim. And when he plays at a high level of activity, he's unbelievable effective. There's times when there's just, whether it's a lull in his game or he gets fatigued, where he does more hanging out than attacking. And we address that with him constantly. As far as him finishing at the rim, as you know, Doobie's elbows are above the rim when he finishes. The thing that we're constantly working on, we addressed it today, is finishing through contact. I tell him all the time, if somebody's going to blow on your arm or kiss you on the cheek, that can't affect your ability to put the ball in the rim. The great ones around the basket, especially as big and strong as he is, if somebody's hanging on his arm, he has to dunk them through the basketball with the basketball. And, it's something that he's constantly working on, and he'll get better as we move forward.
But the good news, though, is, and we saw this on Saturday. He's such a tremendous upside. He can be such a difference maker, whether it's the stick back dunk or, he can get up and block a shot. Just a huge difference maker.
Yeah, he's one of those guys that can erase defensive mistakes. You can do, I don't know if you guys watched the Chicago Bulls game yesterday against who they play against.
I was watching tennis. It's Australian Open season.
There's a kid named Hassan Whiteside that plays. I can't remember who the Bulls played against. The Miami Heat. Plays for the Miami Heat. There's a guy named Hassan Whiteside who's taller than Doobie, 6'11", but has really, really long arms. He had a triple-double yesterday and just completely altered the game. He changed shots around the rim, and I remember the commentators talking in the game how they can be more aggressive on the defensive end, whether it's pressuring the ball, whether it's having more activity off the ball, forcing teams to make plays at the rim, and then you have an eraser back there that if they do get an angle, if they do get to the rim, they can blow up those mistakes, and Doobie has the capacity to do that. His upside's through the roof. As you know, I say it all the time, he's an unbelievably willing learner. He wants to be really, really good, which tells me that there's no question over the next couple of years he could become a special player for us.
We had the Pinewood Derby yesterday in Cub Scouts, so we were a little tied up. And, of course, Carr finished in the bottom third. But I said to John, hey, did you have fun? He said, Dad, we need a faster car. So that's what we have to look forward to.
There you go.
When you look at Andre Smith, and obviously with Keon Moore, they both huge contributors. Not that they've had this, but now that sense of urgency is starting to be kicking in, that time's running low on their college career.
Right, and with seniors, you got to watch it because that can go one way or the other. Sometimes seniors, and our guys aren't doing this, but you got to watch it because sometimes they really, really start pressing.
Yeah,
and you realize that the end is near. You start thinking about so many things, about opportunities after your playing career's over, what you're going to do professionally, the rest of your life is ready to begin. And, I know Andre and I know Keon are really, really doing this. They're staying focused in the moment. They're staying focused in doing whatever it takes to help us have a great practice today, which will lead to a great performance on Wednesday, and then focus on Radford after that, and then the next one. And don't worry about that stuff. And that's the thing. But the other way is when you get that feeling that the end is near, sometimes you start taking that next step. You come outside.
Kind of put you in a zone a little bit.
Get you in a zone, whether it's as a player, it gets you in a zone as a leader. You will your guys, your teammates, your players, your brothers to a whole nother level of concentration, of play. And, that can lead to great, great things, as you approach tournament.
Another question we got on Twitter using hashtag #WooCoaches, and I think we talked about one of the candidates already in Dubio Keke. When you've looked at the development of your team throughout the year, are there guys, one or two, that stick out that have had the greatest improvement?
Well, Doobie, I don't know if you could say he's had an improvement because, this is his first year of eligibility, but, he's been a very, very, very pleasant surprise. Since Doobie's emerged a little bit and then we got Tevin Prescott back, it hasn't allowed a guy like Joseph Lopez to really have many available minutes. But I think his upside's through the roof as well. And the great thing about him is, despite the fact that his numbers have gone down in terms of minutes the last couple games, he has a smile on his face at practice. He's busting his tail. He's showing up early, staying late. So I have, great hope, and I'm excited about his upside. You look at the impact that Xavier Cooks has had on our team as a freshman. He's sort of a point forward. I mean, he's arguably the best passer on our team, and he's 6'8". We ask him to do a lot. He plays on the perimeter and the post. I think Andre Smith's improvement is palpable. You can see it. His floor game, the way he's distributing the ball, his assist to turnover ratio is through the roof. What's that?
Coach Smith?
Coach Smith, yeah. He's starting to call his own defenses. For the second game in 4 games, he decided to we have a zone that we go to every once in a while, every blue moon, as you know, and he decides every once in a while that he has the autonomy to sort of call a new defense, and sure enough, they banged a 3. So I have since fired him off my staff.
That green light is now red.
That green light is now red. But no, he really does do a great job of being an extension of me and the coaching staff, as does our other seniors and Keon Moore and other fourth-year guys like Derrick Henry and James Bourne and Larry Brown. So it's nice to have that veteran presence.
Well, and you'd rather dial them back than have to try and push them to get to that point, don't you? As far as
there's no question. I think that applies to not only leadership. I'd rather them be an unbelievably aggressive leader than to not lead vocally or at all. And I think the same could be said for instance, Doobie. We're talking to Doobie a little bit. Going over guys' backs, getting over the back calls, missing dunks because he's trying to dunk on 2 people. I'd rather, I'd rather them, be courageous and attack than, have to worry about injecting energy into them. I don't want any Walter Middies out there. I want some nasty attacking guys, if you know what I mean.
You mentioned Tevin Prescott. Since he's been injured, he's come back, only averaged about 3 points and 3 rebounds a game. He was really hot before he went down with that knee. Is that just a matter of getting back into the scheme of things?
So many things that Tevin does, you can't measure. There's so many things that kid does that doesn't show up on the stat sheet. I mean, you look at his rebounding numbers and say, man, he's not getting a lot of offensive rebounds anymore. Where everybody knows the scouting report, they're sending 2 guys at him. It's not because he's not given activity. He's textbook in defensive grading. He carries out every defensive assignment almost to the letter, and he makes us better because of that when he's on the floor. He's a calming presence. The guys trust him. He knows where he's supposed to be. He's unselfish, and he plays really, really hard. So I think the fact that maybe his numbers are down is misleading because he really makes us better whether he's on the floor, whether he's scoring baskets, getting rebounds or not.
We're live at Buffalo Wild Wings. It's our Winthrop Basketball Coaches Show. The men are at Coastal Carolina Wednesday, at Radford Saturday, home for Charleston Southern on February 2nd. That's a Monday. The women are at Longwood tomorrow night, home for Charleston Southern on Saturday. Hope you'll be able to join us at the Coliseum and on the air. We'll come back and we'll talk about the reigning Big South champion, Chanticleers, on the Winthrop Sports Network. We're back at Buffalo Wild Wings on our Winthrop Basketball Coaches Show. Glad you're with us. We're here every week during the basketball season. Back next Thursday, February 5th at 6 o'clock. Hope you'll have an opportunity to join us and talk some Winthrop basketball as we come down the stretch in the 2014-2015 season. On Wednesday night, Winthrop will be in Conway, South Carolina, home of the Big South Tournament, to face Coastal Carolina. The Eagles beat Coastal twice last year, but lost in the Big South Championship game. When you went back, and I assume you've looked at all three of the games from last year, what was the difference in the first two games you won and the third game that you were unable to get done?
Well, I think in the championship game, you really got to tip your cap to Coastal. They made big-time shots. Early in the game, man, I kept rewinding the tape going, no way that's going in. Sure enough, went in just like it did back in March. I was hoping maybe they'd miss a couple. But, Josh Cameron came out just firing. Warren Gillis was making really, tough contested shots around the rim. And it really gave them some momentum. And we struggled to score. We labored to score. Joey Jerome, who was – just an absolute tiger for us last year and had a phenomenal year. He didn't shoot the ball as well in the tournament as he did during the regular season, and that's not to say by any means it was Joey's fault. He's, the key piece to last year's team. But that's one thing I did see. They made shots and we didn't, as simple as that sounds. But, as you know, Coastal is an attacking, avalanche, downhill, attack the basket team. They have weapons on the perimeter that can shoot it, but they want to drive the ball to the rim. I think one statistic that's very telling, and it talks about their efficiency and how much of an attacking team they are, they've almost made more free throws than their opponents have attempted, which Coach Prosser used to say that all the time. We used to really think highly of that stat, and we would try to reach that in our teams. But they kill you on the offensive glass. You got to block out. There's 5 guys going to the glass at all times like maniacs. So we really got to limit their second chances.
They have basically the same roster as last year. 11 of 13 players are back. They return the top 5 scorers and 7 of the top 8 from last year. Are they doing anything different?
I think one addition to their team that has really made a big difference is Siobhan Wiggins. He's different than Josh Cameron. Josh Cameron played the majority of the minutes at the point last year, although Warren Gillis played a lot at the point. But Siobhan Wiggins, who's a transfer, I think, from Mount St. Mary's, he's a consummate point guard. And I think he's a great piece to add for them because they have so many guys that need the ball. They have so many guys that are very aggressive offensive scorers. And I mean that in the most complimentary way possible. But they're shoot first, pass second type guys. And Wiggins is a guy that's kind of a catalyst for their offense because he's content and he's happy distributing. He's an attacker as well. He can really get in the paint. He's very good, scoring at the rim, but he'll spray the ball as well, which gives them a little bit of a different dimension. We have our hands full with them. Obviously, it's on their home floor. They're very talented offensively. They have a lot of weapons. And as you know, it's a big rivalry. As long as you've been around here, you know that. So they're going to be waiting for us, all their students and their fans, with not a very welcoming look on their face.
I know as a coach, you prepare for every game in the same sort of manner. But for the players, and you remember you didn't play that long ago, and you've been on the bench in a lot of big-time rivalry games. Is it different?
Well, I think rivalries are what makes college basketball special. And you want your guys to grasp that. You want them to throw themselves into it. When I was at Xavier, as you know, Xavier-Cincinnati was a big-time rivalry. And maybe nationally it's not as big, but within the city limits, it was huge. Families were divided. You're either Cincinnati or Xavier. And a wife would go to Xavier and a husband would go to UC. And Coach Huggins' approach to the rivalry was, it's just another game. It's just another game. We got another one on Tuesday. We got Xavier on Saturday. And Coach Prosser's was totally different. His was like, this is a big game. This is a huge, and we put a lot of stock and a lot of emphasis in it. And, UC won their share, but we won a whole heck of a lot of them. And I'd like to say more than Cincinnati did over those years. And, but again, we want our guys. That's what college basketball is all about.
Is that your attitude then going into the game against Coastal?
We make sure our guys are well aware that it's a rivalry game. I don't know if I beat that drum nonstop. I mean, we're just, we're a team that's growing and getting better and taking steps forward. I think you'd agree with me. And we're just trying to have a great practice today, whether we were playing Liberty on Wednesday or whether we were playing Coastal Carolina. But we make sure that the guys know the history and they understand, I don't want to use the wrong word, but the heated nature of the Coastal Winthrop history and why it's important.
When Coastal wins, they clean up the glass.
Oh, they kill it. That's what they do.
You're undefeated this year when you win the Battle of the Boards, but how do you prevent a team?
I mean, we're not going to try to lose the Battle of the Boards. We're going to try to win it, Well, but you have to be textbook pinpoint in your defensive grading in terms of blocking out. And we block out, we grade 10 categories every single game. And each player gets a grade, and then the team gets a grade on each of those categories, and then we get an overall team grade. And blockouts have to be, we got to be at 80-85% on blockouts. And you're probably saying, well, why not 100? It's if you guard like your hair's on fire, you're going to grade at 71-72% overall, just the way our defense is set up and just the way we grade. But you have to get bodies on guys. You have to drive them out. Then you have to give a second effort. Then you got to pursue the ball. And it has to be a 40-minute commitment to doing that. And if we do that, I like our chances, but they'll really, really make it hard on us.
You obviously had a win last year down the regular season, then in the conference tournament. How much do you emphasize the fact that you've had some success on their floor? Because they're very good at home.
Yeah, we played them in an overtime game at our place in February, and we're lucky enough to win that one. James made a big shot down the stretch to win that game down there. And then we lost them in the tournament. And teams are better on their home floors. It's hard to win on the road in college basketball, so we know we're going to get their best shot. No, it's not going to be easy. But, man, what a great place to get a W. So, if we're going to pack our bags and work our tail off and get on that bus, we're going to go down there and try to get a W. So it won't be easy.
On Saturday, you'll play Radford, and that will be the first team in conference play this year that you get for a second straight time, whether it be Radford or anyone else you play along the way. How many adjustments do you make from the first game? How does the game plan differ?
Well, that's what you concentrate on, that first game. I mean, we've already watched hours and hours of tape and broken down a million possessions. We know what they do. We'll go back, and I've already watched it 2 or 3 times, but I'm not thinking about Radford right now. But immediately when the Coastal game's over, we'll throw ourselves into that game, and we'll look at what they did well, what we didn't do well, what they hurt us with. And the key is when we go there on Saturday is to make sure we clean up the things that bothered us. So everything in terms of preparation, I shouldn't say everything, but because we'll watch the last several games that they've played since they played us, but 90% of it will be, that game and what we need to clean up, because Radford's not going to change a great deal from the time they played us till now. And we're sure as heck not going to change. They know what we do. We know what they do, but it's going to be a matter of making sure what hurt us late in the second half doesn't hurt us down there.
Do you like playing teams second and third times? Is that a challenge for you?
Well, I mean, that's part of conference play. I think it's just nature of the beast. Whether you like it or not, you do it. But, and people always ask all the time, well, if you win the first one, is that a good thing or bad thing? Because now you got confidence, and or is it the team's hungry and they're going to come out harder the next time? And I don't know what the right answer to that. I do know it's hard to beat a team 3 times in one season. Yeah. And last year, like I said, we were lucky enough to beat Coastal twice, and it's not the reason we lost the game, but you're playing them on their home floor and you're playing them a third time, and they were a good team. We're a good team. So that's not easy. And as you know, it's just the way it is in the tournament. You're going to play them on their home floor. You have to go through Coastal to go to the NCAA tournament because they're hosting the tournament, and odds are they're going to be right there at the end, as they should be.
One difference between in Big South Conference men's and women's basketball, the women play everybody twice. The men don't. Do you like that? Do you like that you don't see everybody twice, or would you? I
mean, I think in a perfect world, it would be a perfect round robin. I think that's the way you get a true regular season champion. So the women, they play everybody twice. Mm-hmm. So they play that many conference games.
Yeah, 20 conference games.
Wow. I think that's hard because it really, really limits what you can and can't do in terms of non-conference scheduling. But when you have that many teams, it is hard to play everybody
Yeah.
twice. But I think it's a more true regular season champion when you do that.
All right, 2-minute pitch. Rob Manfred's first day in office as Major League Baseball commissioner is today. We know that you're a diehard Reds fan and you think Pete Rose should be in the Hall of Fame. Give us the pitch.
Nobody's perfect. Nobody's perfect. Who in this life has never made a mistake? Who in this world has never made a mistake or sinned? Like, Pete screwed up. He made a mistake. He's paid for that mistake for a quarter of a century. And Bart Giamatti's thing was, his whole deal was the integrity of the game. I got that. But now with all these PEDs and with all this other stuff, and like, come on, man. The guy made a mistake. He was, before he got in trouble, what baseball was all about. Sprinting to first base on a walk, head first slides, preparing your tail off, playing harder than everybody else. Under-talented, but made up for it with his effort and became one of the greatest players in the history of the game. And he made a mistake. And it took him a long time to admit it. And he finally admitted it. And then 6, 7, 8, 10 years have gone on since. Enough's enough. We're a forgiving society. He belongs in the Hall of Fame. Game, set, match.
Favorite athlete of all time?
Not even close.
Really? Who's number one?
No, it's not even close.
Oh, he's number one.
Pete Rose
Number
in a
one.
blowout.
Yeah, very good.
And I'm not saying that he's wrong and he screwed up and he's not a perfect person, but he's my favorite player because he represented as a player how you're supposed to play. Like your hair's on fire 100% at all times, and that's why I love him.
How about a pitch clock in baseball? That's one of the suggestions.
Don't mess. Baseball's perfect. Don't mess with baseball. Leave it how it is.
What about the shot clock in basketball? I know there's a movement to.
I like that. I like a shorter shot clock. I would be in favor. As you know, the older I get, the faster I want to play.
That's right. More offense.
I mean, if I was a player and the recruits out there listen, I'd want to play for me because all I yell at practice is go and run faster. Run faster. Let's go.
We'll see how fast they run on Wednesday night when Winthrop takes on Coastal Carolina. Game time is at 7. We'll have pregame coverage at 6:30. Women's basketball tomorrow on the Bridge. Pregame at 6:30. Tip-off against Longwood at 7. For our friends here at Buffalo Wild Wings, including Diego and Thomas, for Mike Pacheco, for Coach Kevin Cook and Pat Kelsey, I'm Dave Friedman. Thanks to Austin Peak back in studio tonight. We'll talk to you next time on the Winthrop Sports Network. Oh, it's good. We like that. That was good. Now I gotta write down.